The image I like to have in mind, because we're in New York here, is the Lady Liberty image. Scales, right? Scales. So let's see if I can draw some scales here. Okay. Where we have one pan here, okay, cash flow pan. Okay, and we have another pan here, or bucket here, and this is the cash commitment pan. Okay, and then the balance between these is an arrow, and this is the scale here, okay, is the interest rate, the money market interest rate. Okay, that the balance between the pattern of cash flows and the pattern of cash commitments is what is determining the short-term interest rate at any moment in time. Now the Fed is doing something too, and it's a more complicated story than that. But behind the scenes, there's some actual facts about the world, and those facts are balance sheet facts. Those facts are promises to pay at a certain point in the future that are either lined up with the actual prospects of the firm, the person who made the promise, or they are not lined up with the actual prospects of the firm, the person that made the promise. If they're not lined up, that person has to do something. They have to do something. This is the point. It's not about preference. It's about being forced to do something by the promises you've made in the past. Optimistic, whatever, sure. That's what makes horse races. People say, it's going to be, I have such a great idea, or I really am going to buy this house, and we're going to have a wonderful life together, and then you lose your job. So the cash flows go away, but the cash commitments stay, okay? And now you're in trouble. And so the balance between cash flows and cash commitments is true for each individual, okay? A stressed individual or not, but it's also true for the economy as a whole, the pattern, okay? In a world in which most people have cash flows adequate to meet their cash commitments, you're not going to have a financial crisis. In a world in which there's a lot of people who have cash flows that are inadequate to meet their cash commitments, you're going to have a financial crisis. It just becomes more and more fragile. This is the Minsky point. Fragility has to do with the balance of cash commitments, promises to pay, relative to the actual cash flows that are emerging from your activities, from your sale of labor, from your business profits, from your sale of goods. And in a crisis, the crisis shows up in the money market rate of interest. And so we watch the money market. The money market is our detector, our crisis detector, our stress detector. Okay? Watch the money market, and what you will see is a price bopping around. Okay? And what's causing that price to bop around is the shifting balance between the pattern of cash flows and cash commitments. So this is a sufficient statistic in the money market for the state of the macroeconomic balance. That's the idea. You're much more used to thinking of stocks than of flows. It's not so easy to think about flows. It takes practice. Okay? So let me just link this up. I had said financial assets, financial liabilities, and money. When you think about your T accounts, okay, assets and liabilities, financial assets are here, money are here, financial liabilities are here, and then there is net worth as a balancing item here. And net worth is all about solvency. Net worth is what we mean by solvency. These are stocks, meaning, and what are financial assets? Financial assets are the accumulation of all the past flows. We've bought this asset, we bought that asset, we bought the other asset. All of those assets now we own. That's the stock of assets. That's there. Similarly, hoarding. We hoarded a little bit, we hoarded a little bit more, and so the total stock of money we have is the reserves that are sitting here. Okay? Similarly with financial liabilities. We borrowed a little bit, we borrowed some more. Okay? This is the accumulated borrowing over the past up until the present. All of these stocks okay, are residues of past flows. They're what's left, okay? And they also have time patterns looking forward. You know, their promises to pay, the liabilities have dates on them, right? Certain dates when you have to make payments. The assets have dates on them, certain dates when you're going to get payments, okay? That's what I'm showing here, these dates, the flows. So the financial assets here are like adding all this stuff up. Discounted present value, you know that. So it's like 40, okay? And the total liabilities adding all this stuff up, it's 20. What I'm showing you, these examples here, are meant to show you a case of a firm or an entity that has exactly the same financial assets, total, stock, exactly the same financial liabilities, total, stock, but very different prospects because of the time patterns, okay? That liquidity matters, okay? Not just solvency, liquidity matters. If you look at the balance sheet, what you see is solvency. You need to look behind that at the time patterns in order to see the fragility that is building up. Okay, so that's the lesson for today.